Well, good morning and welcome to this special Island Stat Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me is the newly elected Caribbean Equestrian Association president, Ms. Heidi Mello. Heidi, first of all, Happy New Year. Last night you were voted in as the president of the Caribbean Equestrian Association. First of all, take us through why you put yourself forward for this particular position throughout around the Caribbean.
Good morning. Thank you, Earl. Happy New Year to you as well. That's a very simple answer. I did not put myself forward. The outgoing president, Di Clark of Barbados, approached me last year and asked me if I would work with her in this just gone year to prepare for presidency. The CEA has actually only had 3 different presidents since it was formed. And this is the first time the presidency has come up to Bermuda. No, it was strongly suggested that I work towards it and become president for this year. So that was, obviously a privilege coming from the past president. I think I have some pretty big shoes to fill.
Definitely. I mean, you've been involved in this particular sport, the equestrian sport, for quite some time, doing various jobs, various responsibilities. How do you think that the growth that you've had and different roles and responsibilities will assist you in the leadership now of this organization?
Well, I happen to have been born in the equestrian industry. I've been in the business my entire life. I think that the experience that I have, most certainly with my education as a FEI official, will definitely help the Caribbean Association grow. I have this background and the strength with the jumping and also the dressage, which are the 2 disciplines that we function on. So I feel that I have the knowledge and the experience to go forward. And I do have a very good executive board. And I am going to primarily concentrate this year on education.
Now, you often come back and do a lot of things locally as well as your roles and responsibilities throughout the FEI. But looking at what is the exact role of the organization of the Caribbean Equestrian Association throughout this region?
The Caribbean Association basically was formed to link the countries, the smaller Caribbean islands, together. We originally started off with the English-speaking Caribbean islands, and then very shortly, Guadeloupe joined in, and now we actually have Haiti in there, so we can't even say we're that anymore. We're just basically a small island association, and we teach each other, we learn off of each other, we share ideas, and then we share competitions and then combine our results and see where we stand against the others within the Caribbean.
Right. Now, you talk about education, and that's what you want to concentrate on this year. Are you talking education of officials, of riders, of the federations, or what are you in particular looking forward to, or who are you looking forward to educate?
I'm looking forward to educating everybody. Education of officials is utmost importance right now. We are losing officials in the Caribbean quite quickly because of new standards and procedures that the FEI have put in. We have to educate the officials then educate the trainers then educate the riders. And we have to continue on with education as our sport is developing and changing week by week with new rules and stuff like that. So basically, not everybody goes and sort of spends all their days at horse shows and stuff like that for, 5 days a week. So take that information, I learn from it, and I turn around and I take it back to the Caribbean and I help implement it for how they can work their, for their country, how they can do it. I mean, the big horse shows I do in the States, horses are stabled on the property. Sometimes we're there for up to 12 weeks. We can't do that in the Caribbean. We trailer them in the morning, we trailer them home that night, and we put them away. So it's quite a big difference between, the level of competition. So to bring up the CEA to find a happy medium so that when the Caribbean kids do have the chance to go overseas, it's not all shockingly new to them.
One of the things, as we've talked before, is in the region. We have the show jumping competition, and we also have the dressage competition. How can we improve the numbers? I know we have Bermuda, we have quite a few people that participate. We also have I know in Barbados they have quite a few as well, Cayman. But how do we improve the numbers around the region in the sport itself, either in dressage or just the horse jumping?
Well, the supply and demand of horses is obviously a thing. You know, shipping and the movement of horses is quite expensive. Cayman is very much like Bermuda, and they don't have a racetrack, they don't have a thoroughbred industry. So there's not an easier way to get a supply of horses. Whereas you look at the bigger Caribbean countries, sort of Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, and Jamaica, they have a racing industry, they have a thoroughbred industry. So it's a lot easier to get a supply of horses, and moving and shipping horses in and out of there is actually a lot easier. So maybe we could lower the cost of shipping and lower the cost of keeping horses. We could get more horses out there and more people could show.
Sure, sure. Now, throughout your time in your career, even as an FEI official, I know you and I talk quite a bit extensively about when you design a course. You pride yourself on never having the same course twice. That takes a lot of knowing or understanding what challenge you want to give to not only the horse but the rider as well. How do you visualize these courses? Because believe it or not, people will probably not know you designed over more than what, 100 courses?
Yeah, you can add probably another zero or so to that too.
Okay, so over 1,000 courses and never one's been the same. So how do you visualize all of that?
Well, you never ask the same question twice on a course. You want to be able to test the ability of the horse and rider for the different level that they're at. So you basically, you have to have a little bit of a talent for the course design and a little feel. It very much helps that if you've competed and jumped yourself. But I have a goal set in mind of what I want to accomplish out of a particular show. And I just get behind my computer and start drawing. I look for a line, I look for a flow. I ask the kids, I test them equally to the right, to the left. I test them with jumps that test height, and then jumps that test width. And also speed is always a factor of show jumping. So I ask the questions, and then I ask the riders to do it in a timely fashion in the time allowed, which means you don't have a lot of time to rethink a mistake through or something like that. So it's course design is very, very special. There's not that many course designers in the world. We have two in Bermuda, myself and Ian Truin. Ian lives there, of course I don't. But it gets tough when you are building for the same people week after week in the same arena. It's always a pleasure to go to different venues, different rings, different shape sizes, and use different material. Just changing around a ring and a material will make a completely different course. Then you can take a course from a sand arena and put it in a grass arena, and it rides completely different.
Mm.
So courses will ride different due to your terrain and footing. I mean, no show jumping arena is quote unquote a billiards table. So you will have slight inclines and hills, and it just matters where you put a jump. If it's a little bit uphill, a little bit down here, there's a little bit of a dip. That distance then rides different for the horses. So it changes from ring to ring, which is one of the challenging things that we do within the CEA. We send the same course around the Caribbean for everybody to build, and it comes back quite different. The rings always look very different because, of course, they have different sponsors, they have different material, different types of jumps. Some people use a big grass arena and just fence it off. Some people have sand arenas. So that in itself, we try and do the same similar competition, but it changes just by putting the same course in a different arena.
Mm. I want to go back to something you said earlier about the outgoing president talked you into running for this position. When you were first approached to run, I know you're very busy, and what were your first thoughts about probably taking over the leadership role of the region?
Well, I was sitting on already as the chair for the technical advisory for show jumping.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty much got my hand in there doing a lot of the work as well. And then when Di Clark asked me about it, I thought to myself, I said, now should probably be a good time to do this. You have a lot to, lot to offer, a lot to put out. I have been for the last year and a half running an education table, a round table through a Facebook group for all of the Caribbean. We primarily started off with officials and stuff. So when the opportunity came up to take presidency, I thought, I'm going to run with this and do something with this because I'd like to strengthen the education throughout the Caribbean.
Now, course designs, you said there's not many people around the world that are actually doing this. You've been to almost the top of the level in course designs around the world. How does one get involved in becoming a course designer? Because there's people that are out there that probably never knew that their work as an architect or just anything related can actually filter into becoming a course designer and see the world.
Course design has what we call art and science. Just a bit like horseshoeing. You can teach people the science, but the art has to come within them. It's not set out for everybody, but mostly in the islands, you get interested. You have people start helping move the jumps. Then people say, well, wait a minute, there's measurements in between here and there's distances. And it's like, yeah. And then, people will start to get interested. It's not a job that everybody wants to go and do. It's a very, very tough job. It's physically demanding. The smaller the country you're in, the less help you have. So you tend to do a lot of it yourself. I was very, very blessed early in my career, and I was picked up by the only man who ever built 2 Olympic Games in the world, and that was Olaf Peterson Sr. And I spent 19 years underneath his wing. So building obviously in Germany and Europe and stuff is quite different than building even in the States and Canada, let alone the Caribbean. So I've had an opportunity to do it at every level. And there is not a ton of people standing around wanting to do it. That's for sure.
Not even wanting to help.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about Bermuda itself. So what's your vision for the Bermuda Equestrian Federation over the next few years? They're under new leadership now, and just what you can assist with. I know, like I said, you come back, you put on local shows, you do a lot of work behind the scenes and so forth. But what's your vision for the Bermuda Equestrian Federation over the coming years?
I'd love to see another rider come through the rankings and make it to the international scene. That's for sure. It's the reason why the Federation was originally formed. At this point in time, I'd love to see us go back to horse showing, but we got a little thing called COVID that gets in the way. But I think that the BEF for sure is definitely underneath good leadership. They were both there yesterday in support of me at the AGM, which was very nice to have them. And I have a close working connection with the Secretary General and the President. I'm basically on the end of a phone anytime they need me, whether it's a technical question or an idea or a theory. I don't do too much in day-to-day within the Federation, but I'm right there on the end of the phone if they need me for something technical.
Definitely. Well, last evening, they also announced that Ms. Ann Cherry will be stepping down. She's been a long servant of the sport in Bermuda, along with her husband, Mr. Cherry, who stepped down some years ago. But what does Ms. Cherry mean to your career, to Bermuda Equestrian Federation from your standpoint?
The biggest roll of duct tape you can ever imagine. She has held us together for many, 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 many years. There are things that Mrs. Cherry just does that we're unaware of. And if it's not, one day it's not going to get done and we're all just going to look at each other. Mrs. Cherry joined the CEA, the Caribbean Equestrian Association, as the secretary back in 2005.
Wow.
She stayed on so long and served so many terms. Nobody obviously standing by to take her position. They actually named her the honorable secretary because she had been in there for so long. The secretary's position was actually taken last night by my wife, who was nominated by the creator of the CEA, who is Betty Waits from Jamaica. So it hopefully will be a little bit easier to run stuff with the two of us in the same house. I am joined by Mary McTaggart from, Mary Berga from Cayman, who will sit on as the treasurer, and Di Clark from Barbados has offered to stay on as vice president. So super strong team. We've been working together on education already and a bunch of things. So I think it's going to be pretty smooth going forward from there. But Mrs. Cherry has no doubt what she's done for the CEA and what she's done for the BEF and Mr. Cherry over the years. There's no thank you card big enough for them. You know, they're sometimes quite often the first ones at a horse show, some of the last ones to leave. They've been at horse shows since I was a small child. You know, I can't imagine the Bermuda Federation sort of without seeing them around. That's for sure. They have definitely wholeheartedly given a lot to the sport.
Definitely, without a doubt. Well, you know, I want to thank you very much for your time. I know you have many other things to do outside the role of the president, but I want to wish you all the best. Anytime I can give a hand, just, you know, like you say, my phone call away or a text away or just a message away, if you want to get a message out there and let people know what changes are going on, if there are any. We know we're dealing with this COVID, which is hampering a lot of things, not only locally, but around the world. But you stay safe, your family stay safe, and we want to wish you all the best in your endeavor. How long is the term for president?
It's a minimum of 2 years.
Okay.
So I think it's actually going to take me 2 years to get the education started. But like I said, I'm was pretty deeply involved in it before going up for president. So I don't see my workload increasing too much more, maybe a couple more text messages and emails and phone calls. But you know, we're a tight group within the Caribbean, and a lot of us chat at least a couple times a week. So I think it's going to be great.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we want to wish you all the best, and again, Happy New Year and good luck in your new role as president of the Caribbean
Thank
Federation.
you. And
All
great
right.
to see you. Thank you.
All right.